Hey guys, it's Nena, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This book was so good. This book was on my list of top 10 classics that I wanted to read or reread, and I'll pop the link to that below. But I'd heard about this book on Words of a Reader and also Mercy's Bookish Musings, and they both had just such good things to say about it, and honestly I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about it. So I really wanted to read this book, and I decided it was going to be my one sort of creepy, mysterious read in October, and I'm so glad that I did. This is the story of a young woman who is a lady's companion. She's traveling abroad with her companion when she meets a handsome widower named Maxim de Winter. He is sort of well known because he owns a famous estate in England called Manor Lea, and also because of the tragic circumstances surrounding his wife's death. And one thing leads to another, they start talking and they sort of have a whirlwind romance, and he proposes and she accepts. So they get married and she goes back to live at Manor Lea. At first she's very happy and she's in love, but then the shadow of his first wife starts to fall over her. As time goes on, she learns more about what Rebecca was like, and things are not quite as they seem. And that's all I'm going to say about the plot, because the less you know, the better. A few things that I wanted to talk about. One of them is Rebecca herself. The title of the book is Rebecca, and we don't actually know the young woman's name, the woman who's narrating. So you might guess that Rebecca plays a huge role in this book, which is amazing considering that she's dead the entire time. But I think that's so interesting to have a character be such a big part of the story, but not actually be physically there with the other characters. Another important element is the estate, Manor Lea. Manor Lea is sort of a character of its own. It's described in great detail, and it is such a important part of each of the characters' lives. Maxim and the young woman live in Manor Lea, and for Maxim it's been in his family for many years, and then there are also the other people who work there, and a lot of them have worked there their entire life. Manor Lea is also important as a setting for certain events that take place. I thought Daphne du Maurier's writing was really beautiful. She talks a lot about memory and nostalgia, because when the book begins, the young woman is looking back on her life, and then there's the famous first line of this, which is, "Last night I dreamt I went to Manor Lea again." So right away you're thinking, what's Manor Lea? Why would she want to go back? You know, right away that brings up all sorts of questions. She also talks about how moments are fleeting, and how once you live an experience, you can never really recapture it. You'll remember it, but it's not exactly the same. She says, "Every moment was a precious thing, having in it the essence of finality." She talks about wishing a moment can never end, but then also how sometimes memories can be built up in your mind. So there's definitely some nostalgia, and for much of the book you're wondering, what is she nostalgic about and why? She also talks about wishing that she could bottle up certain memories so that when she wanted to, she could pull it out and relive that experience again. But each moment is final. So a little bit more about the characters. The young woman who's the narrator, we never actually know her name, which is very interesting. Despite the fact that we don't have anything to call her, she's still an excellent character. She starts off very young and innocent, but by the end of the book, she's completely changed. There's also the character of Mrs. Danvers, who's the housekeeper at Manor Lea, and she is such a scary character. Just the things that she does are so chilling. And I think all of the characters are really well developed. We understand their motivations and actions, and that's all I ever really want. I thought the pacing of this book was excellent. It starts out kind of slow, and it's sort of a slow burn, and she reveals certain details, just little pieces here and there, and eventually all of those pieces start to fall into place. I thought for this book it was perfect, the pacing, and it just sort of builds and builds to a kind of crescendo at the end. So this is not a scary book, but the events that take place are very sort of chilling and haunting. And mysterious. I would say this is a mystery of a sort. I thought this entire book was excellent, and I would say that if you like things that are well written with really interesting plot, you'll like this book. If you only want to take away one thing from this video, it would be go read this book. It is so good. If you've read Rebecca and you want to talk to me about it in the comments below, please do. I'd love to hear what you thought if you read it or if you want to read it. Let me know that too. If you want to talk to me elsewhere, I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm on Goodreads. I'm on Instagram. I will leave all of my links below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Ooh, it just got super bright. Sunlight, sunlight. I mentioned Game of Thrones. I first heard about Game of Thrones when the series was coming out. Somehow, when I was younger, I completely missed the series.